cambiar vidas,
change lives,
change organizations,
change
दुनिया में
organizations,
बदलाव.
Change the world.
It was interesting to hear some of the talks today because increasingly what I'm trying to come to grips with in our work around China and also in an emerging way around India and some other places is that there are so many things that are going on and there are so many issues that are still out there that the only way to achieve true progress in this business of energy savings is going to be through a real integration of the efforts of all the kinds of disciplines we've been hearing about and all the things that we've been talking about in in many of these conferences. And some of you have no doubt seen these, but when you look at the population distribution and the rate of urbanization around the world, it's clear that this is an inevitable trend. And in 2010, China's urban and rural populations met in the middle in terms of the distribution, and the urbanization continues. And not only China, but around the globe, the ratio of urbanization increases and will inevitably increase as population growth happens. And that is not a bad thing because we need to have the land mass available for food, for cleaning the atmosphere, for collecting water, everything else. So urbanization is I think, a real positive aspect of the development of the planet. Here's a classic footprint diagram, and on the left is the ones by the countries, and China and the U.S. are quite big, and on the right is the per capita one. And the thing about the per capita one that's a little cause for concern, of course, is that China and India, the per capita energy levels are low, but the populations are quite great. So any significant movement of the per capita energy consumption has a profound effect. And one of my favorite little stories is what's happened in Bangkok, which I consider a failed city, where the quality of life there has disappeared through bad planning, and over a period of about 40 years, there's been a 3-degree increase on an annualized basis, both nighttime and daytime centigrade, of the temperature there, and that is a real indicator, long-term indicator of the problems. Additionally, as it was spoken about this morning, wind and hydro and all the other solar powers are quite great, but in terms of consumption, China, because of its energy appetite, is forced to rely significantly on coal as a big component, and petroleum. So we're not curing our problems, and in fact there's a danger of making them worse no matter how hard we try. So the challenge is, in speaking of China, the challenge is to continue to transform China into an urbanized and an advanced country while advancing the good life for everyone, which is basically a cleaner, more ecologically sensitive planet. So, the two main ways we work is both in the business of energy savings in buildings, but more profoundly in the energy savings through urban planning, because urban planning is probably the biggest lever we have for controlling this energy appetite that is the main issue. So we've done 2 buildings, and more than 2. We've done many buildings, but there are 2 that are kind of significant. One in San Francisco, one in Shanghai, and the basic matters that we address are sustainable site, water efficiency, energy and atmosphere, materials and resources, the indoor environment, and we deal with this through innovation and design process. All of these things to get us to energy efficient buildings. And by integrated approach, I've been putting together more and more these assemblages of people. In the building world, it's a little more obvious the kinds of people that you bring together to integrate into the process, and the dialogue is between the groups of disciplines, the architect, the owner, and agencies which are responsible for sustainable planning. So in the San Francisco building, we've done things like recycle 85% of the debris, recycled content of the building is 47%, and 43% reduction in water use. And what's interesting about this, it's done through the building envelope, through technology. The interesting thing about this is that this was all done while the building was under construction. The decision to transform it was made late in the game. But also, the building relates to a green space environment in San Francisco, and the building and on its ground floor plan integrates in with a landscape plan so that it takes into account also the amenity issues of relating indoor and outdoor of the building, and not just making a machine that happens to be more efficient. And that's the same philosophy we scale up into the urban world. So, like I said, the client didn't intend to go after LEED, but felt compelled to after a while, and was able to do it. In China, in Shanghai, we did this building, East Harbor International Tower, and this tower is achieved some quite great reductions as well, not only in energy but in water use. And it's done it through a variety of ways. It's across from the Pudong, this one integrates a lot of design integration into the building, highly efficient interior elements and energy systems. So getting into very advanced low energy light systems, which get better and better all the time, using groundwater heat source, deciding on variable air volume control systems, which are much more efficient for air distribution and use much less energy than conventional systems. And also heat recovery systems to use the heat to co-generate, and solar, of course, and things that even energy recovery in the elevator systems, in the raising and falling of the elevator cabs. Collection of rainwater also as a important element. In San Francisco, we're working on a building at the Trans Bay Center, so it's a smart growth, high density area of town. And this building is mixed use, residential over office, again as a land planning strategy. But interestingly, the design of the exterior wall achieves 6% solar reduction just by its geometry. So it's a passive result without even applying any mechanical. So taking that now, scaling up, let's talk about the whole eco-city issue. Eco-city being a settlement which basically, does not deteriorate its environment and basically gives back. And so I tried a diagram which shows where our efforts are trying to go in terms of scaling up to the urban scenario. And as you can see, it involves highly technical energy modeling consultants. Communications, like you just heard about, would be part of that. Waste management, climate experts. And the idea is to bring together all of these macro areas of expertise into the urban planning and not just your conventional design approach. And the goal is to address the major issues of climate: access to water, access to energy, access to transportation and amenities, and that that global thinking of what has to happen in a city rather than trying to adjust one piece or another. That's kind of where our heads have gotten to, and it's the integration, some of you have seen this, of livability, the quality of life issue, mobility, getting around, and sustainability. And in mobility, well, I'll talk about that a little bit more, but it's the whole idea of how do you get around without the car, whether it's electric, whether it's self-guided, whether it's not. Because roads and cars add to land use area in fairly negative ways. So we've created these agendas of very extensive criteria within each of these areas of livability, mobility, sustainability, and these are all of these things get woven into the planning work we do. Auto use. It's interesting. You can view a lot of things about this. One is the emissions. The other is just the sheer congestion aspect. And you can see the newer emerging cities have much greater delay issues than the older cities because the coming to grips with how you manage traffic has been also, a greater thing. And then a series of studies done by AECOM for us on emissions of various vehicles and their use in Beijing and in Guangzhou area. And I boiled this down into this chart, which is worth looking at, which shows that in Beijing, if we could reduce 5% the traffic from the base that it is right now, you can see the metric ton reduction, NOx and the VOCs. Also, if the traffic continues to increase, you see the penalty. And if we could achieve a goal, which we would love to see, but through planning and the use of public transit systems of that kind of reduction, then the numbers are fairly significant on an annual basis. And it would help reduce the climate change issues and the heat island effect, which I showed you in Bangkok, for example. This is the kind of thing that is also impacted through bad planning in China. And when we came to Guangzhou, we would find plazas like this, where the only people on the plaza were the planners who came with me and some workmen in the distance, because nobody would go to this place, and everybody's over here under the trees where the temperature's about 15 degrees centigrade cooler and the exact same time, 5 minutes separation. And so the greening of the city is a big part of this process of reducing energy and making it more livable. So our first big assignment was in the north axis of Guangzhou, and what I like to show, this has been recently completed in the last several months. This is a park in the middle of a very high-rise center of this north axis of Guangzhou, which is a wonderful green area in the middle of, some 80-story high-rises and many, many buildings. And below it is retail, and below that is parking and metro and roads and everything. And so the greening of the city aspect of this plan has been, I think, a really great success, and is very good at implying the future of the way you can make the city not only a better place to live, but also affect the climate. There are many other things we did in Guangzhou, including talking about grade separation and getting BRT and cars under where the pedestrians are. In the south axis of Guangzhou, advocating for mixed use, light rail systems for getting around to make it more convenient for people to be able to abandon their cars and go by public transit. This is the overlay of the metro, and then this is the overlay of the light rail working together, and also forming the density of the area based on the transportation grid that you evolve, and then having many public ways around, and even using the waterways for transportation. And then this is a major project in Guangzhou, and it takes all of those ideas and pulls them into one, including a major transportation hub, which would have water transportation, ferries, as well as buses, cars, metro coming to the same place. In Dalian, a land use plan which takes advantage of looking at greenways from the mountains here to the waterway, and an overall integrated plan which relies heavily on integrated transportation to the new airport and to the downtown, the existing Dalian area, and even bringing the idea of direct ferry service to a new area of Dalian, and again, using this global integration idea of how you make an eco-city, including sophisticated monitoring systems by people like GE, like Cisco, others, water use policy and people working on that. The integration of urban agriculture and the city waste management, expertise, energy management, of course. So all of these things overlaying in the same plan. And creating green specs, a whole raft of green specs to help define that for the execution of the plan. And then back in Guangzhou, a very recent plan, this is the Guangzhou airport, and over here, the downtown's down here. This is a north railway station area, and high-speed rail and low-speed rail and buses and every conceivable kind of transportation come to this hub. And so we've created an urban design plan that conceptually links everything to the hub and creates a new core that's also linked by amenity and greenway to the transportation hub to really focus the energy of the place around this, and again discourage the need even for the use of automobiles for most trips. And these just show the idea of the integration of the urban center right back to the transit center. And then just in summary, looking also all the time at emerging sustainable technologies, things that have been talked about here today, working with GE on various energy and smart grid strategies, and looking at their very detailed analytics of how energy and usage can be affected and how that works with our work, and looking at the various criteria that they use, which are, integrating into our thinking. People from Cisco, who we've been actively talking about, and their, intelligent connection systems, and others, linking all of these things together to the best of our ability. And finally, trying to get the various groups and organizations we know and work with to talk to each other more. I think the integration of policy is probably the most important thing that needs to happen at this point. Everybody's talking about it, but I talk to all these people, and I'm participate in a lot of them, but they don't really come together in a cohesive way. So I kind of see my assignment, if you will, as trying to keep bringing all of these things together to achieve a dialogue which can then be carried to policy. And I'm working with the Chinese government leaders about that, which is to get the policy to take this integration into account in the policy, as well as their general kind of desire to get to a more sustainable place. So it's great to hear a lot of what I've heard here today, including the speaker just before me, people trying to go down the same path. So I think this is the new era of what has to happen, is this integration of experts and government policy to bring this holistic approach into the planning for the urbanization, which is really the main event of this era. Thank you.
Cambiar vidas,
Change lives,
change organizations,
change
दुनिया में
organizations,
बदलाव.
Change the world.